Nick tries to make a deal with the Narcos to protect La Colonia, and Maddie tries to keep Travis from finding they've got the spring breakers downstairs without Chris. Look, let's just be straight. We all know this is all going to go horribly, horribly wrong, right? It's the Season 2 finale of Fear the Walking Dead, episodes 14 and 15, Wrath and North. Hey everyone, and welcome to our review of the Season 2 finale of Fear the Walking Dead. So, there are spoilers ahead, just so you've been warned. Alright, so 2 episodes back-to-back wrapping up the season, and really what we're doing is we are wrapping up all the previous stories and setting the basis to what we're going to do, what we're going to see moving into Season 3. So let's start off with Travis and Maddie. And over here down at the Rosarito Beach Hotel, it's really all about family kind of coming back together, returning that bond back. Those opening scenes between Maddie and Travis, really very touching, really as we're seeing Travis, you know, he's in shock with what he has done, and Maddie is there really to try and reinforce his decisions, telling him that he had made the right choice. I mean, in many ways, this was actually really Chris's choice. It wasn't so much anything that Travis could do. Maddie doesn't know all the specifics on that, only we do as an audience. But for Travis, of course, he is only seeing it as his fault. And I thought that it was a great sort of time to where you can see these two coming together, and even Alicia showing back up, and that nice scene between her and Travis, where they're sort of, you know, letting bygones be bygones, really appreciating what it's like to be in this new world. As Maddie had said, you know, you were maybe thinking of choices of the old world. This is a new world where everything is constantly changing and adapting, and you have to make those choices going forward. And that moment with Alicia also, like I said, just wonderful how the two of them are just kind of acknowledging and seeing where both of them are. Him apologizing for not believing her, and her not putting the weight of that responsibility on top of him, that this was Chris's choice, and what else was he going to do? He's a parent. So I love those little moments, and of course that set up the big instant kind of conflict there once Maddie discovers the spring breakers downstairs, making instant asses of themselves. I mean, really, they walk into a room and just prove that they are the biggest douchebags in it wherever they go. Signpost that just brought Maddie's attention right into them, quickly figuring out who they are, and that conversation with Strand, where you're really starting to see two different viewpoints. And from Strand's point of view, yeah, he has lost Thomas, and now not having that hope, he can't carry that forward. However, he does still wake up in the morning. I think that's part of the conversation he had lost. He was so much pointing out that what drives Maddie and gets her up is her kid and the hope of seeing Nick. For Strand, he doesn't have that because Thomas is lost. But Strand is still there. There is still something pushing and motivating him, and I think that he easily overlooked that. Because one thing that this episode also very pointedly illustrates is tell the truth. Don't lie. Tell the truth. It's the Walker apocalypse. The dead are walking the earth. Civilization has collapsed around you. Lies are not something you will need to throw into the mix. If there's anything that we have learned from this show, from The Walking Dead itself, is that don't lie. Everything in life, really, everything will eventually come out. Here, of course, we're talking about her lie to Travis, or really not so much of a lie as just not telling him that the boys were downstairs. And that did not last very long, of course, pulling them out, creating the commotion, pulls him to the window, he sees what's going on. Of course, that is going to happen, and that brings up the conflict furthering throughout that episode. Now, by the same thing, well, speaking of lies, we have Alejandro on the other side. After Nick went out to try and make a deal with the Narcos, and the Narcos said, forget you, we know where you live, and that's an awesome fortress. We're going to come take it, so keep your stuff. I've got the other biggest drug dealer, I've got everything taken care of. And that precipitates into the conversation there, which the dead guy or the sick guy that was the top. See, this is the problem with having the sick right around. It's the arrogance of Alejandro is when they pass, they turn into walkers and they try and eat you. Or in Alejandro's case, he was bitten and Nick sees the tear and we get the truth of that story, which is exactly what I thought it was. He was bit by the kid that he was going into that group of walkers to save, and it was not one of the walkers themselves, which is what I had a feeling was going to end up being the case, and of course this really is. And this of course sets up the big conflict between Nick and Luciana, because of course this is all, Luciana's driven by that question of faith, faith that everything is going to turn all right. Nick, on the other hand, much more of a practical person. But it is this lie that Alejandro had set up that really kind of places them all in danger. And it's not just faith that is going to get them through, as Nick is saying, is we need to have an actual plan. We need to do something because when the narcos come, praying and faith is not going to stop the men and the bullets from coming in and taking you out. And of course, we get the big scene at the end of the episode is the conflict between Travis and the Spring Breakers, the final showdown as it were. Now, we already know that unfortunate circumstances has befallen Chris. We already know that he is dead from the conversation that they had had with Maddie. But there is more to the story, and we know there is more to the story because Brandon is a douchebag, and Brandon's conversations with Travis of, hey, I want to tell you, but I just got to get my arm fixed, or hey, I want to tell you, I'm a little scared of how you might react right now. All of that pretty much saying that the story that you told of a simple accident is not what exactly went down. And no, it did not. Yes, there was a horrible accident, but Chris was not killed in it. He was merely very wounded. And the Spring Break bros do what the Spring Break bros do, and that is if you are wounded, you are dead. So that just sets Travis off. And really a beautiful and quite honest sequence. I can tell you as a parent, I would probably react the exact same way. You lose your kid, you take it out on the people that are responsible. And I just thought that was a beautiful, vicious scene, really showing that shift of character of Travis, who was so much of the peacemaker and the reasonable person. Everybody has a line, if they're pushed over, will go that way, will react angrily, will lose it all. And for Travis, this was it. I thought it was a beautiful sequence just in that, really illustrating the moment. Now the only okay, when Oscar came in to try and stop them, and that slam, I'm assuming just slam of the door and his head got caught in, with everybody else getting the crap beaten out of them being okay, that seemed like kind of a minor action in order to cause such an injury. However, the reality of any combat is you know, a correct blow at the right angle, the right place, that's exactly all that's going to happen. So I will go and buy that, and certainly will write it off after, again, like I said, the beautiful intensity of that fight scene, merely for its visceral language, for really, again, like I said, illustrating that shift of Travis from someone who is such a peacemaker to someone who will brutally beat two individuals who have caused the death of his son. That was just astounding. And then we move into the next episode pretty much immediately afterwards. And again, they got a couple of really beautiful shots in both of these sequences. One, in the conversations with what has happened to Chris. And I like the fact in the flashback is the tales are being told that Travis can see what it is that had happened. I thought that was beautifully well done. And that, especially that final shot of episode 14 of Wrath, where it's that sky moving up shot and we see Chris's body on the ground, and then it immediately flashes over to Brandon laying in a very similar position, very similar blood pouring out. It was a beautiful dichotomy of imagery right there. I thought that was just wonderfully done. And then they opened the next episode up, and another equal shot, and the slow motion camera of the chair going through the glass, and that slow motion glass just going over Travis's just shut down face. It's just great imagery. I mean, if you're going to spend time on shots, These are really the types of things to put your money into, to put your time into. I just thought it was beautifully well done. Though, of course, the result of Travis's big action there is the rule that Maddie had set out. You attack one of your own, then you are gone. So Travis is going to have to be expelled by Maddie's own rule. And this is where we get, again, we have the family coming together. Yes, we understand that that's what's going to happen, but Maddie and Alicia are both going to go with. And I love that that's also, again, Alicia stepping up and saying, hey, you don't need to protect me. We need to stick together. We as a family are more important. Unfortunately, this also does mean that we have to say goodbye to Strand, who has decided to stay through all of this. Now we do get the big final, kind of actions back and forth up in the room when we find out that Oscar does in fact pass away, and the big angry fight to go and take out Travis that leads to the other brother's stabby death at the hands of Alicia. I do have one question with that scene though. Actually, that whole little sequence is Hector. Why is Hector so upset about Oscar being put? Hector was being held hostage by these guys so that Elena would give them the keys not too long ago. And now he seems very upset that Oscar had gotten wounded. He's very much attacking Travis on that. So I just thought that was kind of an extreme response. I didn't quite get why Hector was responding quite so intently on these guys. I know they've sort of, that's all water under the bridge and such like that, but it hasn't really been that long. I didn't get his huge reaction and anger off of that. But again, all of this is really just pushing so we get Travis and Elena and Maddie out on the road and back up to hopefully eventually wind up hooking up with Nick. Does that happen this episode? No, but we get things moving in that direction. Now, Nick, of course, is fed up with all of Alejandro's stuff. Luciana willing to stay, seeing the importance that Faith has in the community. It's not just faith in him, it is faith in the ideal. If the lie is exposed, that will cause everybody to fracture and fall apart. In many of these communities, that's exactly what is holding things together, is that commonly held belief system. So Nick is gone. Well, gone very shortly. In the distance, spots a helicopter and is willing to turn and run back and let everyone know, hey, there is an actual plan. We have somewhere else to go. And a great little scene, I thought, there between him and Alejandro is really the final kind of goodbyes, where Nick is illustrating to him, look, you are not being brave. In fact, you are being brave with other people's lives. You are already dead. These people don't have to die. You're already going to go. And I thought that was just, and again, this is sort of a scene where we see Nick stepping up. First it was Nick on his own, and then Nick here coming into and trying to be responsible for community. Now at this point it is Nick actually taking the responsibility, the mantle of leadership. I will take these people, well, Luciana and him, he's smart enough to know that he needs a partner, are willing to take on. So this is a sort of a great extent of the arc for Nick, from going from being very much a loner to being part of a community to actually willing to make those choices and willing to lead a group of people to safety throughout this very, very dangerous world. And he does so in a wonderful fashion where the Narcos finally show up and get into town and find everybody gone, but it's just a trap, because once they're in town, then the sole survivor, the man that's going to die himself, Alejandro, climbs in the bus, opens it up, and lets the walkers all loose. Now, again, this is what I do. Moving from the outside of the Narcos in towards the bus, that seemed all very smooth. I was kind of surprised that more of the walkers didn't sort of head and rush towards them. They really kind of almost seemed to let them come in. Just a few of the walkers died. But the moment that Alejandro pulls that bus out, it's like an army swarms out very quickly, and a heck of a lot more than what it seemed to be. It was a very impressive group, and I love the idea of suckering all of the Narcos in and then letting loose these zombie hordes on top of them. Because yes, while they have ammunition, it is quite obvious and quite clear that they do not have enough for all of the walkers that are coming at them. Certainly if they're going to be using automatic fire and firing off multiple shots per walker, it's a waste of ammunition. One at a time in the right place is all that you need. And of course ends up being that is going to be their final goodbyes too, as finally when Maddie and Travis show up at the end and start picking up all of the weapons that are on the ground. That pretty much shows that is the end of the Narcos. So we have at the end of this really Maddie and Travis and Alicia back together as a family, moving as a unit, hopefully trying to hook up with Nick, who is just ahead, heading up into the border and into a giant ambush, which wounds Luciana, gets Nick beaten, and spreads the rest of the town off into the street. So this is where we're going to end up seeing for next season, is we have Travis, Maddie, and Alicia together south of the border, possibly heading north in towards where they saw the helicopter. That's the last news that they got from Alejandro before he passed away. And then of course we have, meanwhile, up in that area, we've got Luciana and Nick pretty much being held as prisoners. Looked like Luciana was shot in the shoulder. She was still moving around, so maybe not life-threatening. It depends on which directions they want to take this. Also, does this have anything to do with the helicopter, or is this sort of like a militia border guarding group trying to keep anybody from crossing the border, sort of be protected that way, but independent from whatever that rescue medevac helicopter was landing at? So we're moving forward, we're moving north, we're moving back into the southern United States, it appears, this season. We also have, of course, Ophelia's story, which I'll tag on at the end just because it's those small little bits. Really, Ophelia just showing why you should not be traveling by yourself. In whatever circumstances, you need people with multiple skills. If you don't know how to fix a vehicle, you need somebody that knows how to fix a vehicle. If you're going to try and fix a vehicle, you need somebody to watch out for the walkers that are right around the corner. All very important. However, Ophelia really showing her ability to take care of herself, taking out those first few walkers, and I have to give heads up to her, or thumbs up to her combat move, taking out the knee of that one before going for the head. That is a great maneuver, especially for any walkers that are larger than you. And I was excited to see it also because I have only seen that one other place, and that was in Telltale's series of The Walking Dead. Actually, it was the second Walking Dead, where you had Clementine's, one of the girls that was looking out for her at the time, showing her how to take out larger walkers, because Clementine was just like a little 10, 12-year-old girl. She's tiny. But anyway, I just love seeing that move of taking out the knee and then taking out the head. I thought that was brilliant. Now, really the rest of her episode is just showing up, crossing the border, and running into that final guy. Camera-wise, though, another beautiful shot when she crosses the fence into the United States, and we just get that giant camera panning shot of showing the desolation behind her in Mexico and turning, and the further desolation of desert ahead of her in the United States. Just really wonderful illustrative job of just showing the breadth and depth and desolation and lifelessness that was all around her. So it was just beautiful done sequences. But again, with Ophelia, it's just she's moving across, she's now across the border, and she has run into somebody that at least said, welcome to the United States. Good guy, bad guy, we don't know. Seems to have a positive air to him, but that is, again, something else we're going to find out next season. So that's going to wrap us up for Season 2. We have to say goodbye to Lorenzo James Henry, a.k.a. Chris. Chris, you were crazy, but you were still family, and we are going to miss you. However, you can still catch Lorenzo James Henry on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this season. So the character may be gone, but the actor, of course, lives on and continues to work. So we can check him out there. Also, we have Ophelia and Strand now in the wind, separated from the families. Ophelia in New Mexico. We've got Strand down in Rosarito. Is this the last we're going to see of these characters? Are there going to be sequence of events that bring them back together? hopefully in a smart, intelligent way and not just some crazy coincidence. Is Strand going to find the Abigail again? Maybe head back up north. Maybe Ophelia will run into her fiance, find out stuff is horrible in New Mexico, and head back towards the place where she came from. We'll have to sort of wait and see. We do have season 3 coming up, but it will be spring 2017. So keep an eye on things, and we'll get exact dates later in the future. Anyway, like I said, that's going to wrap us up for now. Please press the like button if you did enjoy this review. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button right here. While this is the end of Fear the Walking Dead, we will be starting up The Walking Dead. Big Season 7 starts October 23rd. And we do Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and those come out shows Tuesday night, so reviews usually come out by Wednesday. Also, we just did reviews of Luke Cage, the new show on Netflix. It is amazing. You can hit my review and check it out right up here. We are also doing HBO's Westworld. That just premiered tonight as well, and you can check out the review for that right up over there. So go ahead and click those if you want to check those out. If you want to keep up with me, you can subscribe to me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Darren Jakes. There, that is right there. Other than that, I'm going to say goodbye, but hopefully we'll see you guys again very, very soon. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm D, and I'm Maddie here. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.